If you can't guess the #1 pick on this video today, I am just going to assume that you're a tourist who never actually played a Call of Duty game in your life. I mean, I'm happy to welcome you into the fold, but come on. This is Black Ops 1. Everybody knows what the #1 pick on the list is going to be, but what about the other 9? I think that might be a little more interesting. For example, the infield. Every single time we do one of these lists, I hope that I can show the love to this gun that nobody else showed. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Jimmy or Chaos, and yes, we're getting ramped up for Black Ops 1 to be on PS5, so I've got to give you guys the best gun so you can get ready. A lot of you never played this game in its prime and its heyday. I'm here to guide you. Now, some of you may immediately be writing comments about how Jimmy is washed, and I'm an unk, and the infield sucked, and it was ugly, and here's the thing. It literally didn't. It was your starting assault rifle in the game. Had the exact same fire rate and damage profile as several of the most popular guns in this game. And in case you didn't know, there was a handful of assault rifles in Black Ops 1 that all fired at 750 rounds per minute. And they all hit for between 30 and 40 base damage, and it made them all 3 to 4 shot kills. Exact same fire rate. And then in the infield, it was one of those guns. The only real difference between these rifles were the handling speeds, the recoil patterns, the iron sights, and maybe some slight differences in the range drop-off. And to make my life easier, I'm just going to be calling these ARs the 750 rifles, instead of just listing them all out. And yes, out of all the 750 rifles, the infield was the least accurate. And yes, it had the ugliest iron sights, but it still had that super reliable and consistent time to fill and that buttery smooth feel, and the time to kill, it was just as fast as the other guns that everybody agrees are the best. So yeah, now let's take a look at another one that you guys are going to be like, okay, this is better. He's going to get back on track now. The AK-47, another gun in the 750 club. Killed in 3 to 4 shots, one of the 750 rifles. But everybody agreed this was one of the best ARs in the game. And granted, it did have a much easier recoil pattern to control than the infield. And it also had much cleaner iron sights. So I guess it was a lot easier to take advantage of the damage profile. And when I say the recoil was easier to control, I'm being really real with you about that. The recoil on this gun was perfectly up and down. All you had to do was aim at somebody's belly button and ride the recoil roller coaster up to their head for a free headshot. And that easy headshot potential made this thing a 3-shot kill monster. And who remembers how it sounded with the suppressor on it? Take a listen.
Spy plane standing by.
I mean, yeah, whoever designed the sound for this game was absolutely just going to town. I'm glad they were part of the development team. The Black Ops 1 AK-47 was a freak. Definitely needed to be in the top 10, and even though it had the exact same fire rate and damage profile as the infield, I'm going to give it a higher spot because of that top-tier recoil pattern, and the cherry on the top was the amazing iron sights. Now, despite this being a very diverse selection of sniper rifles in this game, I'm smiling while I say that, I think the L96A1 is probably the only one you're going to see online once these new ports roll out. The other snipers, they're okay, aside from the Dragunov, which is useless, but none of them compare to the L96, which is the perfect blend of consistency and just pure coolness, if you ask me. It's the only bolt-action sniper in the game, so you would hope it's worth your time, and your hope would be correct. It is. The fire rate was solid for a bolt action. The damage was consistent. The ammo capacity is actually kind of nutty for a gun like this. You'll have to keep in mind that aggressive sniping is very, very hard in Black Ops 1 because of the way the ADS animation sways, but I'm pretty certain all the new school snipers, they're going to figure it out pretty fast. And when they inevitably do, they will all be spamming the L96A1. Now, if there's one thing that everybody knows about Black Ops 1, or I assume everybody knows, it's that 90% of the SMGs were absolutely useless. But tucked away in the 10%, well, there was the MP5K, which was also a default unlock. Pretty solid fire rate, consistent 3 to 4 shot kill, complete with some, I would say, some good iron sights. The only downside with this gun was the recoil pattern. It was very bouncy and it can make it very hard to use beyond close range. But if you were an aggressive player who liked to stick to close range, perhaps with steady aim, hip fire class attached maybe, the MP5K, it was a good choice. And as far as starting guns go, it's probably one of the best for leveling up quickly, so keep that in mind when you boot up next month. Don't be shocked when you unlock some of the other SMGs and you quickly realize how bad they are. Except, well, there's one more, but we'll talk about that later in the video. Now, let's show some love to one of the ugliest guns in COD history, but also one of the most underrated and slept on. The G11. 3-round burst rifle, insane fire rate. I can't believe we're going to get to use this again. Unbeatable time to kill, super clean iron sights. Even if the gun model was fat and ugly and green, didn't matter. Also, the reload animation, it's probably one of the weirdest things ever because you're pulling these weird rods out of the barrel and you're shoving in new weird rods, and your soldier was somehow just carrying 1 million extra rods on his back. I don't know. Nothing about the gun makes sense in context, but it was a really powerful weapon. Super fun, satisfying to use, incredible at mid and long range where you could just delete people in the blink of an eye because of how fast that burst came out and how little recoil was attached to this gun. Now, it took forever to unlock the G11, and you're going to have to experience that grind in the first few weeks when the PS4 and PS5 ports come out, but trust me, it's worth it. Take off the scope, put in the hours, grind up the COD points, put this thing in your class. You're not going to regret it. This is one of the best burst rifles in COD history, but it really felt like nobody actually used it or gave it the love it deserved. Now, let's go back to the 750 Club, another one of those 750 rifles, and if you ask a bunch of Black Ops 1 players, a lot of them would tell you this was the best 750 rifle in the game. So once again, it fired at 750 rounds per minute. 3 to 4 shot kill damage profile. But talking about the Commando with the iron sights, the amazing handling, it felt silky smooth. The animations were smooth, the recoil was low, the reload animation was sweet, and yet it was another gun that sounded amazing with the suppressor. Listen.
A secure. We lost Charlie.
Which, it just made the whole package even cooler. It was a classic example of a COD gun that didn't have absolutely incredible stats, but it didn't matter. It felt super responsive. The TTK was extremely reliable and perfectly competitive, which made it a fan favorite. In fact, it was such a fan favorite, I'm probably going to get some heat from the other old COD olda heads out there for putting it at number 5. Now, granted, I think you guys are going to come over to my side once I tell you what 4 guns are ranked above it, but the Commando's a monster, worthy of a top 5 spot. I don't think it's quite the best of the 750 rifles, but I'll tell you which is the best in a couple minutes. But first, we need to take out the bullet hose and talk about it. The AUG. It's appeared so many times throughout COD history. It's really literally spanned the entire spectrum of styles. Modern Warfare 2 had it as an LMG. New Modern Warfare games have it as an SMG. Black Ops 4 and Black Ops Cold War had it as a tactical burst rifle for some reason, but the best AUG of them all was the Black Ops 1 version. Full auto shredding machine that was tied for having the second highest fire rate in the entire game. Now, despite the fire rate, it still hit pretty hard. Only required 3 to 4 shots to kill, which gave it a really good time to kill. The only downside was the, I would say, unpredictable recoil pattern. Tend to bob from side to side during sustained fire, which definitely made it tough to be consistent beyond mid-range. But if you were more of an aggressive player who liked to stick to closer gunfights, this was your gun. Now, granted, there was one other fast-firing assault rifle in the game that basically everybody agreed was better, but we'll talk about that in a minute, even though you already know what it is. This is probably going to be the most obvious number 1 pick in Chaos Top 10 history, but whatever. Let's talk about one of my favorite guns in COD history, and let's see how many people get mad at me for ranking it this high. Also, Orange Tiger camo. That's what you had to have on the AUG. Now, am I being biased for putting this gun at number 3? The answer's pretty clear. No, I'm not. The Galil is a beast of an assault rifle. It's one of the best suppressed firing sounds in COD history. Listen.
SR-71 ready to launch. Our SR-71 in the air.
But it also provided some incredibly consistent damage and a few advantages over the other moderate firing ARs in the game. As you're aware by now, the Galil was one of several ARs that fired in the 750 round club, 3 to 4 shot damage profile. We've talked about it. What made the Galil better than the others was the fact that it came with a 35 round mag by default, biggest of all the assault rifles in the game, and it also had by far the cleanest iron sights. You would never, ever, ever have to use your attachment slot on an optic, and it's not even like those improvements had any downsides. The Galil was accurate, easy to use. The reload animation wasn't longer than what you'd be getting from the other rifles. Out of all the 750s, I firmly believe the Galil was the best. Had the most ammo, cleanest iron sights, second lowest recoil, nothing you couldn't just get used to with a little practice. Now, I'm not going to put it at number 1 because that would definitely be letting my nostalgia and personal bias get in the way, but I truly believe it deserves a number 3 spot. Now, number 2, despite having a ton of SMGs on launch day, we already talked about this, 90% of them were trash, but not this one. Frankly, the main reason most of the SMGs were terrible was because the AK-74U completely outclassed everything. Super lightweight SMG, easy to control, had vertical recoil. The AK-74U hit like a tank. And it could actually outgun a lot of the 750 assault rifles at mid-range while also killing up close instantly almost. And on top of that, you could put a grenade launcher on it. I don't know why, but you could. I have no idea who thought putting a grenade launcher on an SMG was a good idea, but hey, you'll get used to it next month when the ports come out. If you really want to see the 7.4U at its best, slap the foregrip on it, and you will see why everybody completely discarded every other SMG in the game. Melted up close, melted at mid-range, perfectly competitive at long range, all with the super fast handling speeds you'd expect from an SMG. I mean, what more could you ask for? Well, there was something else you could ask for, and I might as well stop being coy about what's at the top of the list. You already know, right? There was never going to be anything else. I couldn't. You guys would run me off the channel. The FAMAS, comically overpowered. It's one of the most overpowered guns in COD history. To this day, it's never been nerfed. I'm really curious to see how this comes out of the gate. Treyarch actually did nerf it at one point, actually, but all they did was increase the recoil. That didn't matter. They didn't touch the fire rate, which was tied for being the second fastest of the game. They didn't touch the damage profile that made it a 3 or 4 shot kill, and despite the insane fire rate, it didn't matter. They didn't even change the recoil pattern, which was perfectly vertical, so it was easy to control. Yeah, they increased the recoil, but the pattern was predictable, so it didn't matter. The FAMAS was an assault rifle that would outperform the SMGs at close range while also deleting people across the map. Explain to me how any of that's fair. I know it's been 15 years since the game came out, but you're going to have to explain how you thought this gun was even remotely balanced. And when the game comes out in July, you're going to see everybody spamming it in every lobby. Mark my words. The FAMAS was the best gun in the game by a landslide. There shouldn't be any debate about it in the comments. Again, this is probably one of the most obvious #1 picks in Chaos Top 10 history. Let me know, and hopefully for you newbies that haven't played this game, this gives you an idea of what you should be using. Don't use the FAMAS. Use the Galil.